Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. UFC 314 is fast approaching and we have a absolutely stacked card. Like when Dana White dropped all of these announcements, this was one of the bigger ones coming out of it. Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopes fighting for the belt that Ilia Topuria has vacated in his move up to 155 pounds. Now, that is just the cherry that tops the cake. Like I stated, this card is not only stacked, but a fight fan's dream. Like, so many intriguing fights, clashes of styles, and fights that need to happen in divisions to move them along. Let's break it all down today and have a look forward to one of the biggest events of the year. Like I said, in the main event, Alexander Volkanovski trying to turn back the clock, taking on the young, hungry killer looking to make a name for himself and fulfill his dreams of becoming a UFC champion. This clearly has danger on the outside of it for Volkanovski, someone who is aging in his career, and coming off two pretty vicious KOs. That main event is a really, really intriguing contest between, like I said, an absolute legend aging in their career in Volkanovski, who's trying to get that title back, do one of the hardest things you can do in the whole UFC. Not only is it hard to win a title, but to regain it, it's a whole nother conversation. So Volkanovski has the chance to do that. On the other side, you have a young killer, man, like such good finishing instincts anywhere that the fight goes, and which makes this a really, really dangerous fight for Volkanovski. Someone who I think, is better skill for skill than most of these guys in this division still, but has taken a lot of damage. And Diego Lopes is very, very good at dishing out damage. So that is a very, very intriguing fight. One I cannot wait to see unfold. And the Volkanovski fan in me wants to see him go back out there and become the champion once again. But you can't approach stuff like this with emotion, because how many times in this game are you going to do this, You see the turnover and how difficult it can be to watch one of your favourite fighters go through the end of their career. But regardless, I think Volkanovski isn't at that point yet. And I think he has the opportunity to really open a lot of eyes in this position. The eyes of people who are counting him out. That co-main event, Paddy Pimblett, Michael Chandler, they've been very cordial, like very respectful so far of one another. I was almost looking forward to a little bit of animosity. Like, at the end of the day, they're going to shake hands and it's going to be all love and respect. But Paddy Pimblett has a great ability of promoting himself and the fight he is taking place in on the microphone. So to see them hug it out and be super respectful, I don't know, don't get me wrong, I still cannot wait to see the fight. Like, the fight is what draws us all in the first place. But something about Paddy Pimblett having a bit of animosity with an opponent. Anyone having animosity with the opponent in a high-stakes fight brings more eyes, entertainment. We all know this. But regardless, I think this is the perfect crossroads matchup for Paddy Pimblett. It gives him the opportunity to crack the top 5, crack the top 10, and do it in impressive fashion against someone with a very, very big name in this division in Michael Chandler. And for Chandler, it just gives him the opportunity to get a win in the book, man. Like, for him to sit out and wait for so long, to lose and get his knee ripped apart by Charles Oliveira, tough, very tough pill to swallow. So Chandler is in a desperate position, needing a win, and that's what makes this matchup so intriguing. Like, we can see a clear path to victory for both fighters, and is this the rise? I think the momentum is clearly on Paddy's side, and someone who we've seen add levels to his game and improve. Whereas Chandler, it's almost quite the opposite. His fight IQ, the decisions he makes in certain moments, very questionable. So in a matchup like this, it's really 50-50 for me, because I can see Michael Chandler knocking Paddy out with the haymakers that he throws. But I could also see Paddy Pimblett overwhelming Chandler, and really, really showing his dominance in the jiu-jitsu range. Bryce Mitchell, John Silva is going to be electric. Like, speaking about animosity coming into a contest, we have that in spades here. Like, these guys clearly don't like each other. Bryce Mitchell has taken this animosity to an interesting place, expressing himself very freely. Has turned John Silva into a real demon. This guy represents the devil to Bryce Mitchell. So, high stakes for him, to say the least. John Silva, someone who power in both hands, very explosive, and coming out of that team that is just lighting the world on fire in the Fighting Nerds. And he's clearly poking at Bryce Mitchell, getting under the skin. And Bryce Mitchell coming in so animated, emotional to a matchup like this, where he really, really needs to be on his P's and Q's, cannot afford to bite down on the gum shield and try and trade with this guy for a moment. Like, I think I can see a world where this is really detrimental for Bryce Mitchell coming into a matchup like this with so much emotion. But regardless, this is going to be a hilarious fight, a hilarious, interactions over the fight week. And with the amount of emotion coming in on the Mitchell side, how much John Silva is going to continue to poke at him, I think the hype and the anticipation for this fight come fight day will be pretty full on. Carlos Prates is, like we've spoken about on this channel multiple times, again, coming out of that same team, the Fighting Nerds, an absolute killer, man. And stylistically, so much fun to watch. His long-range Muay Thai, how sharp he is. Like, he's so brutal with those knees. The self-belief in that power and the striking ability, it makes for a combination that is very, very hard to deal with and so exciting to watch. Like, Carlos Prates has been on my radar ever since he came into the UFC based on that style. What he was doing to these unranked guys was heinous. Go back and watch the Radke fight. Regardless, this is a big step up in competition. Neal has fought the who's who of this division, took Shavkat Rakhmonov into a dogfight. The first guy to ever do that. Is not afraid to stand toe-to-toe with the elite in this division and has had some great success. Like, we talk about power in the hands. He carries so much power in that left hand. Like, you can tell he just is gifted with it. The boxing, what he did to Vicente Luque was scary, man. Like, a brutal, brutal beatdown from the start to the finish. And although Neal is limited in his style, he has that dog, and that makes up for so much. Like, he's not going to be afraid of Prates in this matchup. And Prates does get hit, Neal has the ability to shock the world here. He's a massive underdog coming into this fight. But he, like I said, has crazy power in that left hand and great, great, accurate boxing. So if he can stay safe and find his shots in that open sort of guard of Carlos Prates, I can see him, having big success if he lands. But he's got to deal with so many weapons on the other side. Like Prates, what he's able to do in the Muay Thai ranges is pretty special. He just has that one-hitter quitter, like the first guy to put out the leech. It's clear that he has some pretty crazy power for this division. So both of these guys do. This one is a bit of a sleeper fight on the card. It's just going to be fireworks. This whole card has so many treats. And the one opening up the main card as well, Patricio Pitbull making his UFC debut, finally, long overdue, against Yair Rodriguez. That will prove to be, again, just such a great way to open up the main card. I don't know, like, this card is, for the UFC where it's at the moment, about as good as you could produce, I think, from top to bottom. Like, for a main card, pay-per-view, is about as good as it gets these days. Like I said, this opener, Patricio Pitbull, coming to the UFC, he's old in this career though, man. Like I said, it's a bit long overdue. This matchup, I think, would have been a lot more intriguing 3 years ago. or at least his run in the UFC would have been a lot more intriguing 3 years ago. I think this matchup is very intriguing because of his age, because of so many questions about where he fits in to the UFC, his level of competition, fighting in Bellator. It's different, man. And coming to the big stage, yeah, you see even the best fighters in other organizations need to find their feet in the UFC. So someone who is older in their career, has been schooled recently by Sergio Pettis. Like, for him to come in against Yair Rodriguez, someone who is so dangerous in the kickboxing range, I think Pitbull is going to be wanting to take this fight to the ground. But, man, Yair Rodriguez has a nasty guard as well. So, yeah, I am very excited to see Pitbull in the UFC, but I think he really, really has his hands full in his debut because, yeah, Yair Rodriguez, although he's had ups and downs, is a special, special talent. Let me know what you guys are thinking about this card. I'm sure you are anticipating it just as much as I am. Thank you so much for joining me. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that. And we will chat soon.